Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. And it is actually a good morning. Um, 6:15 in the morning. This is a Sports Wednesday being done on the Sports Thursday because we had technical problems on Sports Wednesday yesterday. So I scrubbed it and I'm doing it again because I'm just that dedicated. I'm so dedicated that I make the word quit. I make the word quit, quit. Yes, sirree. Yes, sirree, Bob. Let's get going here. All right, because we only have a limited amount of time, as my wife likes to tell me, in between sleeping and eating. And she says you have to make the most of your minutes. And she is totally correct. So let's get to it. We're going to open it up with a prayer. Good morning, Lord. Today is a new day. Yesterday is gone, and with it, any regrets, mistakes, or failures we may have experienced. It is a good day to be glad and give thanks. We thank you for today and the new opportunities we have to love, to give, and to be all that you want us to be. As we start this day, let us adorn ourselves with with the armor you have provided, the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, the shield of faith, the belt of truth, the shoes of peace, the sword of the Holy Spirit. Feed us today with your daily bread. Let this bread increase us mentally. Let it nourish us physically. Let it expand us spiritually. Let this bread cleanse us of all envy, gluttony, greed, sloth, resentment, and pride. Let this bread refine us so that we define your glory, your grace, your mercy, and your salvation. Let this bread aid us in healing emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Let this bread help us to set our thoughts on things above and not here on earth. Let this bread remind us to speak only what will help and encourage others. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. That is a prayer that I made up, and I most times I try to stick to that prayer. It's not as easy as it sounds. even if you make even if you make that prayer, trying to stick with it can be a little bit difficult. But let's get going here. Birthdays, birthdays, birthdays. What do we got for birthdays here? Um, Bada boom, da da da, da 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 da. You're young and in love. Fairy tales can come true. They can happen to you when you are young and in love. Well, I'm just going to say birthdays, and we're just going to have to go with that. And let's begin with birthdays. Starting off, well, if you're from New England, this guy needs no introduction. Happy birthday to Willie McGinest. It was actually yesterday, so we'll go with that. It was 12/11. On 12/11, 1971, William Lee McGinest, who was an integral part to New England's first three Super Bowls, was born. Willie, also known as Big Mac, attended Long Beach Polytechnic High School, where he garnered all state honors in football, basketball, and that wasn't enough, right? Football and basketball. In football, he was selected to several all star teams, earning all city, all state, all region honors as a linebacker. McGinnis was elected to let's just get the whole name out, Long Beach Polytechnic High School's Hall of Fame in 2009. That's a pretty good school. They have a Hall of Fame. I know my high school doesn't, and I'm not in that. Okay, in 2009. McGinnis played football at the University of Southern California, USC, where he earned all conference honors 3 straight years. And he was yeah, and during his 3 straight years, and an All American acclaim. During the senior year, he was a Lombardi Award finalist, and he earned All American and All Pac 10 conference honors. Pretty good conference there, the Pac 10. McGinnis was selected fourth overall by the New England Patriots in the 1994 draft. How lucky can you get? 1990, was it really 1994? Yeah, 1994. That was Bill Parcells. Selected him in 1994 with the yeah, fourth pick of the draft. What a steal that was. Um, he was one of the cornerstones of New England's success in winning the Super Bowl in 2001, 2003, and in 2004 with Bill Belichick. Also, he went to the Super Bowl in 1996 with Parcells, but they would lose. Yes, they would lose to those Green Bay Packers with the green and yellow cheeseheads. Those guys were a storied franchise of their own. Okay, but with McGinest as the cornerstone of the defense, oh gosh, they were able to do so many things. Okay, and in 2004, the Patriots defense with McGinest, Vince Wilfork, Richard Seymour, Ty Warren, Ted Johnson, Roman Pfeiffer, Mike Vrabel, Ted Bruschi, Ty Law, Ronnie Harrison, Eugene Wilson was one of the best in NFL history. Maybe not as good as the New York Giants defense with Lawrence Taylor, but well, then you had Lawrence Taylor, and that changes everything. Maybe not as good as the 1986 Chicago Bears defense because that defense ate everything like a hungry hog. William the Fridge Perry, yeah, was on that. Yeah, wow. Wilbur Marshall, um, uh, gosh, some greats. And you know what? If I'm going to mention the name, I should at least know who's on the team. And I know they're on the team on the tip of my tongue, but I can't seem to get it out. Fred Hampton, gosh, they had so many guys, and they had really good studs. So no, not as good as that team. That team was that defense was the best I've ever seen in my lifetime. The 1986 Chicago Bears defense was the best I've ever seen in my lifetime. Yeah, Fred Dean, and gosh, now the names are coming back to me. But we'll keep going um, with Willie McGinest because this is his birthday now. Willie McGinest played a number of positions on defense. And this was the reason, this was one of the reasons that made him so great. His ability to play defense in a variety of ways. He could play it at the end position on either side, right side end, defensive end on the left side. Um, he could play linebacker, weak side or strong side. He could play quarterback spy or he could play running back spy. As a matter of fact, he was the running back spy on Marshall Falk that disrupted so many things that the St. Louis Rams wanted to do in that game, the 2001 Super Bowl. He was the guy who shadowed Marshall Falk, hit him every place he went, grabbed him, held him, elbowed him, drop kicked him, body slammed him. Whatever he had to do, Willie McGinest did and got it done. And well, you know the history of that game. They won it. They were the underdogs, 2001, and they beat the greatest show on turf. Partly because Willie McGinnis, well, he had the speed. He had the speed to keep up. Well, and this is a big guy. They called him Big Mac, but this guy had the speed to keep up for the most part with Marshall Falk. Let's not get it twisted. It wasn't like he was going to win a race with them. It wasn't like he was as agile as fast, but he got there and he stopped him in his tracks and he made him go around and he did everything he did and he was probably the main reason why they won that game. Okay. Um, Willie McGinnis was named to the Pro Bowl twice, and he owns two NFL postseason records: most sacks in the game, 4.5, and most postseason sacks, 16. And for his accomplishments, he was inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame. There he is, right there, into the Patriots Hall of Fame. Well, thank you, Willie McGinnis. As we commemorate your birthday, December 11th, 1971. And we're just going to forget the 71. December 11th. We're just going to throw December 11th out there. It's your birthday. We're commemorating you as a football player and as a person. Um, you did a lot for the community when you were here in Boston. You came from a great family. It was great for you when you were here. You did a lot of things that Bostonians will remember as charitable and positive. We wish you the best on your birthday. And well, there you go. Happy birthday. Let's take that out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Willie McGinest. Willie McGinest on his birthday. Happy birthday, Willie McGinest. Thank you for the memories. But we're going to move on. We're going to move on to a guy who's not from Boston, did not play in Boston, but is connected to Boston in a strange sort of way. Um, it's not his fault that he's connected to Boston, um, but things would have been a lot different if, uh, if they had gone a different way. I guess that's one of us what I need to say. So, happy birthday to Bob Pettit. Bob Pettit. Like many of you are saying, who is Bob Pettit? Well, he's the NBA's first power forward. Robert E. Lee Pettit was born on December 12th, 1932, in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. As a senior, he led Baton Rouge High to its first state championship in over 20 years. After high school, Pettit accepted a scholarship to play at the nearby Louisiana State University. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, also known as LSU. As a senior, no, at LSU during his junior year, he averaged 24.9 points. This is making 25 points. He averaged 25 points and 14 rebounds a game. 25 points and 14 rebounds a game, and he led LSU to their first NCAA Final Four. Not bad. Not bad at all. Okay. Now, Pettit averaged 31 points and 17 rebounds per game during his senior year. And he once again led LSU to an SEC championship and garnered all SEC and All American honors. Not bad, right? 31 points a game, 18 rebounds a game. That's Wilt Chamberlain numbers before Wilt Chamberlain came along. That's in 1953. In 1954, the Milwaukee Hawks selected Pettit second in the first round of the NBA draft. So in 1954, the Milwaukee Hawks, who would become the St. Louis Hawks, who would become the Atlanta Hawks, who won the in-season tournament play-in last night. Those guys, the Atlanta Hawks on the rise. Well, yeah, the Milwaukee Hawks drafted him, number two, and that's 1954. He won the NBA Rookie of the Year, averaging 20 points a game and 13 rebounds. 20 points a game and 13 rebounds. That's as a rookie. Just comes in and averages 20 points a game and 13 rebounds. You got to be good for that. After the season, the Milwaukee Hawks moved to St. Louis and became the St. Louis Hawks. And in 1956, his second season, Pettit won his first scoring title with an average of 26 points a game, and he led the league in rebounding. He was named MVP of the All-Star game, and he would win the MVP award for the season. After this, you have to think. St. Louis is primed to take over the NBA. They are ready. They got this horse who's out there scoring 26 points a game and leading the league in rebounds, just working it, okay? Ready to go. And all they need is a couple of players, maybe just one player. And there's something that happens during that off season after the 1956 season. Somehow, the St. Louis Hawks had the number 2 pick in the draft. The number 2 pick in the 1956-57 season. St. Louis Hawks. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be this trade that changes the landscape of the NBA for the next 13 years. Instead of becoming perennial champions, Bob Pettit and the St. Louis Hawks became perennial runners up. St. Louis had the second pick in the draft, but they made a deal with a guy who was, well, kind of was looking around at the landscape of college players and trying to decide who would help his team. And he had a friend of his who was a coach out west who called him and said, Red, because I'm talking about Red Auerbach of the Boston Celtics, Red, there's a guy out here named Bill Russell who is going to be perfect for your team. Okay? The guy can run. He's fast as lightning. He's quick. He blocks shots. He sets picks. He plays defense like nobody's business. You've never seen anybody like this guy. You got to get him. You got to get him. There's no two ways about it. You have to get this guy. So Red Auerbach contacts the St. Louis Hawks. It says, listen, for that number two pick, who do you want? And St. Louis said, Easy Ed McCauley and Cliff Hagan. And Easy Ed's a great guy. I met him at one of the Celtics banquets. It was a fantastic event. We went there. I went there with a friend of mine, and we had a great time. So Easy Ed was traded for the number two pick. Now, the agreement was that St. Louis would draft Bill Russell with the number two pick and then trade him to the Boston Celtics in exchange for Ed McCauley and a player to be named later who was Cliff Hagan. So um, St. Louis was getting a proven guy. They were getting McCauley, and they were getting two good guys, McCauley and Hagan. They thought this was all they needed, but unfortunately, no, no. What you needed was Bill Russell, because if Bill Russell had have played alongside of Bob Pettit, you guys would have dominated the league like nobody's business. It would have been a sideshow. It would have been a mismatch for the rest of the league to go up against Pettit and Russell on the same team. Throwing a couple of guards and another forward. Gosh, gosh, gosh. It would have been over. Done. But St. Louis, well, they traded Bill Russell to the Boston Celtics, and the rest is history. Because for the next 13 years, it is Boston that dominates the landscape of the NBA. Now, Russell and the Celtics would meet Bob Pettit in the St. Louis Hawks in, in the NBA Finals 4 of the next 5 years. Now, 4 of the next 5 years, and well, St. Louis would lose 3 times. The only time they won. Now let's just go right back to the beginning. They make the trade, and from that trade, the 1956-57 season, Boston becomes, well, the team. Even though Russell doesn't join the team until November, Heisen was carrying the load, Cousy was carrying the load, and they had a couple of guys that carried the load because Bill Russell was in Australia, and they traveled by boat at the time. So they traveled by boat, and he's in Australia. The Olympics finish in Melbourne, Australia, and it takes a while for him to get back to the United States. He gets back in November, and then the Celtics take off, and they're going crazy, and they're going crazy, and then wow, they take the Eastern Conference championship. Guess who their opponent is in the 1956-57 season? The St. Louis Hawks, with Bob Pettit, Ed McCauley, Cliff Hagan, and I believe Marie Stokes. So they had a pretty good team, but they didn't have Russell. And that changes everything because the Celtics win that series. That becomes their first championship. These two teams will meet the next year, 1957-58 season. And St. Louis would win this game because Russell is out injured. Yeah, he injured his ankle, I believe, in the first or second game of that series. And he is basically on the bench or can't play when he's out there. He's just doing mop up. He's doing fake duty. He's behaving as if he can do something that he can't do, trying to take some pressure off the team, but he can't do it. The Celtics fall in 6 in overtime to the St. Louis Hawks. These two teams Well, I don't believe they meet the next year. No, they don't. I think the Lakers sneak in there over the Hawks, and Celtics defeat the Lakers. But they meet in 1960. So we're going. But anyway, in the third exchange of these two, 4 years later, so this is in the fourth year, the Celtics and the Hawks meet again, and the Celtics beat them. And they meet again the next year, the Celtics and the Hawks, and the Celtics beat them, and that ends it. That ends the rivalry because the Hawks will not make the finals again. No, they won't. Not be, and that's it. But I digress. Mr. Pettit, we're talking about Mr. Pettit. Despite Boston blocking Pettit from the NBA championships, he continued to set records. In the 1960-61 season, he averaged 28 points and 20 rebounds, making him only one of three players, along with Wilt Chamberlain and Jerry Lucas, to average more than 20 points and 20 rebounds in an NBA season. After becoming the first player to score 20,000 points in 1965, Pettit retired. It's a shame because he still had a lot left in the tank. But I guess maybe the fun I got out of it. And he was not going to beat Bill Russell in the Celtics. So you can look at it like that. He scored 20,000 points. He was the first player to do it. He retired. Pettit still owns scoring and rebound records in the NBA today. He was just that good. So happy birthday to Bob Pettit. Thank you very much for everything that you did. Yes. Um, Unbelievable. Thank you for the memories. And I'd like to get this out there because right now he's still alive. And nothing makes it better than commemorating the birthday of a person who is still living and is able to hear. So hopefully you hear this. As a Boston Celtics fan, all I can do is imagine what would have happened if St. Louis had kept that pick and you played alongside Bill Russell. I don't think the Celtics would have had any champ. Well, I know they wouldn't have had any championships in the 60s or 70s. Well, in the 50s or 60s, they would have had no championships. It would have been over. St. Louis would have been title town, not Boston. Now, moving on from there. Moving on from there. I'm not going to cover any basketball this week. No, I'm moving right into football because the playoffs are coming up. Fancy football playoffs. And the playoffs, we're in week 15. Week 16, I believe. Oh, gosh. Gosh, what week are we in? We're in week 15. We're going to be in week 15. And there's a couple of things we have to talk about. One is this: we have three quarterbacks in the NFL right now that have changed the dynamics of the game as far as rookie quarterbacks being able to get things done. Generally, that does not happen, okay? But these three, well, I study quarterbacks very, very, very intensely. These three are the best that the NFL has and has had as far as a group of young quarterbacks that are able to get the job done. Those three are Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and Bo Nix. And this is not to say that the other ones out there, because there are some other rookies out there that they can't get it done. But right now, these are the best. These are the best three rookie quarterbacks, and they have excelled beyond my expectation, and they have a great future in the NFL, barring injuries. Now, in terms of arm strength, it's Drake May, Jaden Daniels, then Bo Nix. In terms of elusiveness, it is Jaden Daniels hands down. Drake May, then Bo Nix. In terms of accuracy, it's Bo Nix, Jaden, then May. In terms of touch, it is May, Nix, then Daniels. What I'm saying is that they're pretty much interchangeable. You could use all three of these guys would be good in no matter what. Okay. But at this time, I see Jaden Daniels, as the best of the bunch. Daniels has everything, including on the field acumen and adaptability. He adapts to situations so so much better than any rookie has a right to. Um, of course, as a quarterback, I want him to throw more and run less, much less. Daniels reads defensive matchups very well. Again, much better than a rookie should. He has a lightning quick release, a la Dan Marino. Now, combine that with his running ability, which is a mixture of speed and elusiveness, and you have a quarterback the NFL has never had before. Daniels is a defensive coordinator's nightmare. Yes, I said it. Jaden Daniels, is a defensive coordinator's nightmare. In addition, Daniels has a great head coach in Dan Quinn. He went to the Super Bowl with with the Atlanta Falcons, and they had that lead 28-3. But it was not Dan Quinn's fault. I'm on the record as saying it was Kyle Shanahan's fault for continuing to throw the ball when he should have ran the ball. I know that that's heresy because Kyle Shanahan is one of the ones. Yes, it was Kyle Shanahan's fault. Dan Quinn's defense had done pretty good, and if Kyle Shanahan, the offensive coordinator, had to ran the ball, Atlanta wins that game easily, probably 35-13, easily. So it's not Dan Quinn's fault. It's Dan Quinn's fault for not reining in his offensive coordinator and telling him to run the ball. That's what he should get blamed for. But you have Dan Quinn as the head coach. You have a creative offensive coordinator who was a former quarterback in Kingsley. That's spelled with two K's. There's a K in Cliff and a K in Kingsley. Just so you know, it's not CK. So Cliff Kingsley, try saying that three times. It's the offensive coordinator and a very good one. Okay. Plus, they have a general manager that has worked in the NFL for over 20 years in Adam Peters. Peters began his career in 2003 as a scout for the New England Patriots. 2003. Does that ring a bell to you, Patriots fan? Yeah, that team won the Super Bowl that year. And he continued to be the scout for the next 6 years. Next year in 2004, they won that Super Bowl. So there were a lot of people that he brought into place. Okay? Jaden Daniels has everything. I'm not just talking about athletically, I'm talking about things in place, structure. And if these guys get, if these guys get in the playoffs right now, at 8-5, they have a 90% chance of making the playoffs. So they're going to make the playoffs. They only won 4 games last year. They're 8-5 now. So they're going to make the 90% chance they're going to make the playoffs. Once in, these guys are going to be dangerous opponents and they're going to be a tough out. Daniels, as I said, has everything in place. So that's why I'm rating him at the top right now. If this continues next year, I don't know how far they're going to go this year, but if he's healthy and they come back next year with everything, with the structure he has, wow, Washington's going to lay waste to the NFL. A couple more defensive players, uh, good tight end, they're going to lay waste. NFL better watch out. I see Drake May as the second in- best rookie quarterback at this time. Now I know you're going to say, but they've only won 3 games. You're right, but it's not Drake May's fault. As Jaden Daniels plays on a very very good team, Drake May, and I've been able to see this because, of course, it's a local game and I see this every week, plays on a lousy, lousy team with an inexperienced head coach who is in over his head in his first year, Gerard Mayo. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, Mayo's offensive coordinator, Alex Pelt, also a former NFL quarterback, but not a very creative one. Not at all. Pelt is more conservative. And, well, there's not much ingenuity happening with this offense. But then again, it probably couldn't happen because May's general manager, Elliot Wolf, has dropped the ball completely. It's his first year, Elliot Wolf, first year. And let's just get to the point. Elliot Wolf's first job was as a scout for the Green Bay Packers, and he got that job because his father, Ron Wolf, had been the general manager there for a number of years and had worked in the Packers organization for a number of years. So they brought him on, meaning it's not quite nepotism because I think Ron Wolf had left 2 years before, but it's basically LeBron James and Bronny James. They brought him in because that was his son. Now, that does two things. Gives him Good place to start. But he's not making it on his own as Mr. Peters, Adam Peters, who came in with knowing nobody off the streets. You have to fight for your food, work up the ladder. So Mr. Wolf, Mr. Elliot Wolf, found out that we had an offensive line, or we didn't have well, the Patriots had a terrible offensive line in preseason. I think they were playing the Philadelphia Eagles. It's one of those inter squad games. And the Eagles came in and just raked, raked the offensive line. And every New England reporter who saw that day in that scrimmage, the inter squad scrimmage, came back. They had a shocked look on their face. They were on television with a shocked look, like they couldn't believe what they saw. So right then and there, Elliot Wolf knew that he had a big problem. A big problem. His offensive line was terrible. Well, he did nothing to address it. And still today, the Patriots have the worst offensive line. Now you ask them, what could he have done to address it? Well, that was before the 53-man cutoff. And if you know that you have this problem, what you do is you wait till after, during that 53-man cutoff, and now you start combing the wire. You start finding every offensive lineman who was released. Grab them. Grab as many as you can. Bring them into camp. I don't care what you have to pay for them because everything is at stake here as far as having an offensive line. You have no offensive line, you have no quarterback. But he didn't do that. He stood pat because he could. Okay. Apparently, he's not under fire. Apparently, there's no heat on him. Well, I'm putting some heat on him because he deserves the heat. Drake May is a good to great quarterback. He's running for his life. If he had the structure that Jaden Daniels had, um, it would be a different story. Jaden Daniels, I'm glad you're not here in New England. You probably would be injured by now because you would be running for your life every game. So, as far as I'm concerned, Wolf's reputation is more about his last name than a proven track record of creating or overcoming. Wolf handed May the worst offensive line and has done little to address the problem. Owner Bob Kraft, once the Wonder Wizard of the NFL, seems more interested in becoming inducted into the NFL's Hall of Fame than investing time and energy in constructing an upper management team that allows his franchise to compete on the field. Drake May is going to have to take stronger control of the quagmire that surrounds him if he wants to remain standing, much less accumulate some success. He's going to have to identify the receivers who won't meet with him early and won't stay late to work on routes. He's going to have to unequivocally demand those who will not stay late and work with him or come early or work in off season get released. He's going to have to go over Wolf's head to Kraft to express his displeasure about the offensive line. And if nothing changes, May, you have to demand a trade. You have to value your health above the Patriots' incompetence. He's a good rookie quarterback, just needs to be with a better team. Bo Nix is the last of the three, but certainly not the least. Nix is the best of the three going through his progressions. He's able to get the ball down, check it down to his running back after going through his progressions if he doesn't find anything better than the other two. He has an accurate arm and he is elusive. Nix benefits from having Sean Payton, a certain Hall of Famer, as his head coach. While with the New Orleans Saints, Sean Payton actively pursued a San Diego Chargers castaway named Drew Brees in 2006. Once they got together, the two were together for 15 years and they rewrote all of the passing records in New Orleans, as well as win the Super Bowl. Payton has surrounded Knicks with a good offensive line, a good running game, and very good receivers. Knicks looks like the more polished of the three in terms of directing the team. Sean Payton is definitely a huge asset. He knows the markings of a good quarterback and he knows how to mold them into a great one. But Bo Nix, he's the one getting it done. If he wasn't, he wouldn't be playing. Sean Payton has no tolerance for incompetence, as Russell Wilson found out. The Denver Broncos right now having a 74% chance of making the playoffs. And if they win this weekend, it goes up to 90. Now, All three of these quarterbacks, all three of them, are better than they have a right to be. Um, they can do so many things. And as we go into the 15th week, they're still playing. They're playing well. Um, we'll see what happens as we go forward. I have a feeling that um, next year will be even a better year for these guys. But what's going to happen? Well, here's what I think is going to happen. Jaden Daniels is going to win the Rookie of the Year. There's no doubt about that. He should win that. But what's going to happen the following season? That's going to depend on a couple of things. Um, let's just go through them. What will happen determines on who will be the one that spends time studying pre read defensive snaps, as well as the technique of individual defensive coordinators. What will happen between these three will determine what they do in the offseason. I mean, what they do in the offseason will determine what happens with their teams. They are the main cog of their machines. I mean, of their teams, and what they do is going to determine everything. Whether Washington goes deep in the playoffs, Denver goes deep in the playoffs, or the Patriots make the playoffs at all. It's going to be who demands, which of these three demands what we talked about, that the receivers come early, stay late, work with them on routes, work with them on hot routes. Demand that they work with them in the off season. Set up a time where they spend a week together during the off season and work together. They need to demand this of these receivers. And if the receivers don't do this, well, those receivers need to be gone. They need to get on the same page with the coach about that. Say, hey, listen, I need these guys to come up, but they're not coming out. That would shed some light on why your team is not going to go far. Okay. Now they need to read different things, how to develop themselves in advance, mentally, physically, and spiritually. In other words, they have to develop leadership skills. All three of these combinations of reading, working out, studying is what's going to determine whether these guys go forward. I really think all three have the aptitude to do so, and I think they have the willingness. I think they have the personality to want to do it. Okay, the aggressiveness, the assertiveness. I think they're determined. I know Drake May's determined because if I was him, I would have quit a couple of games ago on this team. They can't block anybody, and it's a very tough situation to be in. He's gotten crushed a couple of times. He should, he should be tapping out right about now. But this kid keeps showing up week after week, and I wish him the best. We'll see what happens, because whether or not they develop these leadership skills from those three combinations is going to determine what's going to happen. Because those leadership skills is what separates Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes from everyone else in the NFL in the last 25 years. That and that alone. Okay, let's move on to last week's picks. Last week's picks. I went 10 in 10 and 3. Yeah, 10 and 3. 10 wins, 3 losses. This will just go through it very, very, very quickly. Green Bay went to Detroit. I took Detroit. Detroit won. Jacksonville went to Tennessee. I took Tennessee. Jacksonville won. Who would have thunk? New York went to Miami. Miami won. Atlanta went to Minnesota. Minnesota. Of course, Minnesota won. Atlanta, please. New Orleans went to New York, and they won that one too. Just make sure. Uh, okay. Cleveland went to Philadelphia, and Philadelphia won. I took Philadelphia. Cleveland went to Pittsburgh. Now I know you Pittsburgh fans are tired of this. You're going to call it Russell Wilson hate. I just, I call it more like Russell Wilson fright. Okay, he just does not look comfortable in doing anything, even when he wins. I took Cleveland. I guess the long of the short of the story is I took Cleveland, and Pittsburgh won. Go Pittsburgh. Um, and we'll see where this is going. I could be wrong. Seattle went to Arizona. I took Arizona. Seattle won. Buffalo went to Los Angeles. I took Los Angeles. Los Angeles won. Chicago went to San Francisco. What do you think? I took San Francisco. San Francisco won. Los Angeles went to Kansas City. I took Kansas City. Denver and Cincinnati went to Dallas. I took Cincinnati. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. 10-3. 10-3. The three losses being Jacksonville at Tennessee, Seattle at Arizona, and Cleveland at Pittsburgh. That's pretty good. A lot better than the 8-8 or whatever I had a couple of weeks ago. One of these days, I'm gonna pitch a shutout. I'm gonna get them all right. And I want to hear Hosanna. No. All right, let's just keep going. Next week, let's just get out of this with next week. Next week, Los Angeles is traveling to San Francisco. That is tonight. And I'm taking Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Rams. This is going to be a tough game, but I'm going with the Los Angeles Rams. They're just a sentimental favorite of mine. With Matt Stafford, he's one of my fantasy football quarterbacks, and I guess I like him a lot. Kansas City's traveling to Cleveland. This is my upset game. I'm taking Cleveland. Yes. Cincinnati is traveling to Tennessee. I'm taking Cincinnati. Washington is traveling to New Orleans. I am taking Washington. Baltimore is traveling to New York. The New York Football Giants. Oh my gosh. Oh, what am I saying? Yeah. Baltimore. Dallas is traveling to Carolina. I'm taking Dallas. The New York Jets are traveling to Jacksonville. Come on, Aaron Rodgers. Let's see if you can pull this out. I am taking New York. Miami's traveling to Houston. I'm taking Miami. Indianapolis to Denver. Taking Denver. Buffalo to Detroit. Roar. Lions roar. Roar. I'm taking Detroit. Pittsburgh is going to Philadelphia. And the battle of Pennsylvania. The Quakers versus the Steelworkers. I'm taking the Quakers. I'm going with Philadelphia. New England, and I know you guys, listen, I love the Pittsburgh Steelers. I love the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. I don't trust Russell Wilson, and I ain't high on your coach, Mike Tomlin. But really, I love the Steelers tradition, everything about you guys, the black and gold. So, Steeler fans, I know you're looking at me with a little bit of like, whoa, I don't know if we like this guy. Listen, far be it for me to disparage the history of the Steelers. I like the Steelers. I love the Steelers. I love their history, and I probably know it just as much as you do, but I won't get into it right now. New England is traveling to Arizona. I'm taking Arizona. Tampa Bay is traveling to the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm taking the Los Angeles Chargers. Green Bay is traveling to Seattle. I am taking Green Bay. Chicago is going to Minnesota. I'm taking Minnesota. And Atlanta is traveling to Las Vegas. Give me Atlanta in this one. They can't mess it up this badly, can they? Or can they? Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I am going to let you go. It's time for me to get out. That is Sports Wednesday on Sports Thursday. Thank you very much for showing up. Thank you very much. Hopefully you had a good time. Remember, pray every day. Jesus is Lord. Jesus loves you and Jesus saves. Pray every day. And there goes my bumper music. I had a great time. I'm here. You were there. Let's make a party together. Let's make a company. I come on. You show up. And listen, we have a chat thing too. Now, subscribe, like and subscribe. And also, I have a chat thing here. And also, as you can see, there's a number here, 844-249-5247. 844-249-5247. You can call in on Saturdays to my radio show, The Amazing Great Sports Network, Saturdays at 9 o'clock. You can be on the air live, and you can watch us on YouTube. Watch us on YouTube while you call into the show. It's going to be a little bit of delay, so just get used to it. Okay? So like and subscribe, and you can also chat whenever you know that we are having a show. You can chat with me and debate whether Pittsburgh, argue with me whether I like Pittsburgh a lot or not. I do like Pittsburgh. I wish them the best. And you know what? If they went to the Super Bowl, I would not be upset. I would like it to happen. Um, Town deserves it. And with that, I'm out of here. Peace, love, happiness. Have a good day.